Okay guys, today we're going to talk about step 3 on our plan packet. So step 3 is joint the best looking edge and mark it with an X. So it's a pretty simple step here. I'm going to show you a couple different scenarios. We have a narrow board and a wide board. So those are going to look a little bit differently on how you run them through the joiner. So when we joint one edge, our whole goal here is to get one edge square. So if we look here, this board's pretty rough on the edge. So this is the part of the board we're going to be cutting. So we've already planed it down to the thickness we want, and we got it rough cut. So that's all we've done to the board so far. So when you come up here, there's no setup. The machine's already set up for you. You're going to run it through the machine, and you're going to take a look. It's going to take a little bit of material off the bottom edge of your board. So what we're looking for on our board as far as which direction to go, it's going to be based on the grain pattern. So this particular board, we have what I call arrows from the grain going both directions. So it doesn't really matter which way you go with this particular board. If you have arrows going one direction, you want to follow that direction, but this one doesn't matter. One thing you do want to check though is to see if the board is warped. So if you look down the edge of it like this, and you see that it kind of curves off to the side, you want to make sure that whatever edge has 2 points of contact, that's the edge you're going to join. Okay, so in other words, if it was touching in the middle and it would rock like a seesaw, you don't want to joint that edge. Okay, that edge is never going to get straight. You're just going to keep getting different flat surfaces along that rounded edge. So we want to make sure that we have 2 points of contact. So 2 ways you can do that is you can set it down on this table here, and you can see where it contacts the table if there are any gaps. And if you push on one side and then the other, and it has a little rock to it, that's not the side you want to do. The other way is to just close one eye and look down the edge, and you can see the direction if it kind of snakes back and forth or if it goes one direction. This is the edge that is going to have 2 points of contact. So let me put this side down. Now, typically on any machine, I want to just have the board in my hand before I turn it on. But I want to set this up here to show you when you have a narrow board that doesn't reach above the fence, you're going to use this push block and this push stick together. Okay, and this is how you're going to hold on to the board. So the push block has that handle facing up, so your hand is going to grab it like this, so it pushes your hand up away from the blade. And then this push stick has this height here, so your hand is up away from the blade as well. So this first one with the push block is going to go in the front, and this is really just going to hold the board up against the fence. You're not really applying a lot of pressure downward on that front. All that pressure is going to be pushing down here on the back. Once we get to the outfeed table, the outfeed table is actually set higher than the infeed table. So if we're putting down pressure on the outfeed table, we're actually lifting that board up and not allowing it to come into contact with the cutter head. So you're going to start back here with your push stick or your push block here in the front with it on the surface. So when you go across here, your hand is up away from the blade and the blade guard. And then back here, this hand is going to be here, and it's going to be feeding the board. So this little hook on your push stick hooks onto the back edge. Okay? So let's go ahead and try it with this. Every time that you run it through, you want to check the edge, so you want to look at it and you want to run your finger across it. So what we're looking for are these little marks right here. These are still marks. If we look at the other side, we can see these kind of like radiuses from the sawmill when it was cut out of the tree. So we still see a little bit of that left over. So if you look all the way down the edge, you're looking for visible stuff. There's some more of those marks. And there's some more of those marks. So we want to run this through at least one more time. The other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our thumb or our finger and run it down the full length of the board. And we're feeling for bumps. Okay, so you're not looking for anything, you're feeling for something there. So let's try this one more time. Same thing. So now take a look at the length of the board. This right here is a little burn mark. That's where I slowed down a little bit. That's not a problem. There's no bump there, so that's okay. And all my saw marks are gone. Okay, so we are done. Now, if you run your board through there 3 times and you still see some imperfections or things that need to be cleaned up, that's when you're gonna come and see me or Mr. Kennedy and let us know, hey, I ran this through 3 times and it's still not getting fixed. What's going on? What am I doing wrong, or is there something wrong with the board? Okay, so come and check. So now that I'm done running it through the machine, I'm gonna take my pencil and I'm gonna put an X on the jointed edge. Okay, now if you got a long board like this and you wanna put multiple X's on there so you really know that that is the jointed edge, that's a good idea too. Okay, that jointed edge is important because that's gonna go up against the fence when we go to the table saw on step 4. Okay, so we're done with that one. I wanna run this other one through. We have a wide board here, so if you are somebody that has a wide board, you know what you're gonna do with this, because we're not gonna use the push block and push stick, okay? So I'm gonna put the push stick right here. All right, so now this board sits significantly higher than the fence, so I can actually get a grip on this board. Make sure you clear this out so that your board's not sitting on chips there and not allowing it to get higher than the fence. Okay, but now I can get a grip on the board with my hands as I push it through, so I don't need that push stick or push block, and I'm far enough away from the cutter head and the guard that it's not going to be an unsafe operation. Okay, same thing applies. I'm really just kind of with my front hand holding it up against the fence. My back hand is really doing the feeding and putting pressure down. One thing that I didn't say on that last one is notice where my body is in relation to my hands. So I want to have my body kind of behind the board or even with my right hand. So I'm feeding it like this and I'm walking through where my right hand and my body are next to each other. So you're not reaching like this, okay, because then you're not going to get good pressure, and you're not up here like this because then all the pressure is going to be on the front, and then by the time you get to the back, it's not going to come at all on the back. Okay, so let's check this board out here. This board is pretty straight, and I think this is going to be the better edge. Marks. So I have to put my X on here. And now I'm done with step 3.